So how do you keep yourself safe from cyber surveillance of this nature and keep your data secure? Here are some tips that have been given out by experts. First of all, frequently update your device. Don't ignore all those updates that come onto your device. Use them to ensure that your device is in fact secure. And these are all from Amnesty International, which has given out some of these tips on how to keep yourself secure from any such cyber attack. Next, to generate a strong password stored in encrypted form. So your password becomes extremely important. Don't be negligent about that just because you feel that you might forget the password. So keep it simple. No, you're not supposed to be doing that. Put on a two-factor authentication when you can. This is especially helpful because it also ensures that you get some sort of an alert if there is anybody trying to hack their way into your system. Review privacy settings, delete accounts you no longer use, and that happens quite often to many of us. So we generate some accounts and then we don't use them so often. It's happened in the past. Some of those social media accounts which one doesn't tend to use, those could actually be the chink in your armor and could allow for such infiltration to happen. So one has to be very particular about that. Now, secure your phone via complex screen lock, 8-digit PIN or alphanumeric code. This again is a means of ensuring that nobody is able to hack into your device, to protect your online activities when using public Wi-Fi. That is one example, to use a VPN when you're out and about and using a public Wi-Fi. Meanwhile, choose apps very carefully. Only download from official app stores. Don't just go about using any app that you think is useful for you. Think before you click on an SMS, email, attachment. Any of these could actually have a malware. So if you're suspicious of any email that has come to you, stop, think before you click on that link. Let me now go across to Kanishk Gaur. He's the founder of India Future Foundation. Kanishk is a cyber expert who will help us understand also how to keep our devices safe, how to keep our data safe. But before that, Kanishk, the big question is that in August 2017, the Supreme Court had said that right to privacy is a fundamental right. Does this kind of surveillance that we've seen through Pegasus a violation of that?
This is a violation of the right to privacy. Supreme Court gave a landmark judgment that right to privacy is fundamental right of citizens of India and it is guaranteed by the Constitution. Now, when you have third parties snooping into the citizens' data, that too of top journalists and opposition leaders, it gives a strong alarm that today your and my data is not safe. And we don't have a data protection bill. And just before the data protection bill comes into the picture, you have a large situation coming in where people's account is being snooped by agencies which are not part of Indian ecosystem but are sitting somewhere else.
Yes.
So you don't know where your data is heading. You don't know whatever access that you're given to government for your vaccination, would that data also be safe? Whatever communications you're having, with your family, is that safe? So it gives a strong alarm that your data can be end up being in wrong hands.
And Kanishk, you raised a very pertinent point there, that here is a third party involvement. We don't know where that data is going. What are the potential dark sides of the data being leaked in such a nature?
See, a company like NSO is a private company. They can sell this to private contractors. They can sell it to other governments as well, right? So tomorrow you might have certain leaders or journalists being held to ransom, or they're being pushed into reporting something which they don't want to do. So all this is a big risk, and it's a risk to national security as well, because this company not only works with India, it works with 48 other governments, and many of those governments have been imperialist. Many of them are autocratic in nature. So for a country like India, which is a democracy, it's a big threat.
So Kanishk, if surveillance of this nature is illegal but nobody knows who authorized it, then how is this issue to be addressed then?
See, I think an independent investigation should be carried out to find out who ordered this surveillance. And if surveillance was to be carried out, who authorized use of third parties. As per the Indian Section 69A, there are 10 agencies which can carry out surveillance in the name of national security. Now, all these 10 agencies need to seek prior approval from the Home Secretary, right? These are Indian intelligence agencies. Now, if any of these Indian intelligence agencies are using these third parties for surveillance, right, they need to take appropriate approval. And if they are, allowing these parties to snoop into data, what kind of agreements they have with this company, that's also important to us. The law does not allow third parties, which are international agencies, spying agencies, to come into Indian territory and use that data, which could,
Absolutely.
impact our country.
Absolutely. So where does the accountability then lie, Kanishk?
I think the accountability lies with the government, that the government should come clear on this. They should order an investigation into what has been done and not just ignore, saying that, this is just hype which is being created. People who believe they have been under surveillance should get their mobile phones, their laptops, examined through cyber forensic experts to find out malware, trojans, or backdoors which have been installed on their systems. So they are able to find this evidence that their systems were behind, compromised, or there were rootkits installed on their machines. So these are two steps. And the third is very importantly, the Minister of IT should come out strongly and tell what is the mechanism they have taken in place to ensure that this doesn't happen again, right? And once you have the data protection bill coming in India, what is the kind of powers the government will exercise to snoop into our data, and how it protects the privacy of people once you have laws for data privacy and protection. That's also important.
Kanishk, one point that I want to understand from you, because a lot of people have raised that issue, that is this kind of surveillance only looking or listening into your chats, watching your every step, because they can use your camera to monitor you as well, at least in this Pegasus spyware. Can they also plant data on you? Is that a possibility?
So, once you have a control of a device, you can manipulate information, you can listen to records, you can also modify. So this allows you to have both read and write operations. So if I have write operations over a device, I can not only get information from that device, I can also put information on that specific device, right? So you can help people accountable for something which they have not done. So I can plant, specific pictures, I can spark, specific data on that particular machine. So you can actually not only just intercept communication, you can make somebody else liable for a crime which was done by a third party. So it's a huge risk.
Kanishk, also the UNHRC, Human Rights Council, has also commented on this. They have said that there is a very narrow use for this kind of surveillance spyware, and that has in fact that has not been in keeping with what we've seen in this particular case of Pegasus. They have not kept up to that narrow surveillance for terrorists or criminals. And they have said that this brings us to the point of doubt and suspicion that already existed about the misuse of technology. Now, how does the international community come together to take a look at this? Because as you're rightly mentioning, there is a third party involved as well. And in the case of India, we've seen that it's not just politicians, journalists, activists, but even there are some ambassadors and envoys of other countries or high commissions and embassies that have been under surveillance as well. That can create a diplomatic issue as well, isn't it?
Absolutely. There have been issues which have come forward where prime ministers of neighboring countries have said that somebody from India is trying to snoop into their systems using NSO, so which can create a geopolitical issue for us. So at the UN, we should look at passing up, a law or an amendment saying that we should not allow such snooping to happen because it is dangerous for democracies to function. It can cause geopolitical conflict, and you should ban such organizations from, taking up contracts. So there should be a, amendment passed which says that, all the members of the UN are taking up a consideration that they will not allow a company like NSO to sign contracts with government or get into such deals where they are supplying information about citizens of the country to the ruling party. This is purely against the human rights.
Okay. All right. Kanishk, many thanks for joining us with those details and giving us an insight into what this spyware is actually like and how this matter can be addressed.